Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report after hours at TD Garden. Josue Pavon back in the house. Noah Dalzell here from Celtics blog. And same result for the Celtics as we saw for most of that first round series. A stifling defensive effort and great contributing production across the board from Derek White, who was fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
Jaylen Brown, who was phenomenal. And Jrue Holiday, I thought was as excellent as he can be in this one, and Horford in the spot start for Porzingis. So you had all those great performances across the board in a 120-95 win over the Cavs to open up this 7 for 19 here in this one. Just struggled to get his shot off. At times the Cavs threw extra bodies at him, much like the Heat did, got the ball out of his hands. But also similar to that Heat series, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks. He found other ways to contribute. And even ended up making a podium appearance after this game. So you'll take it. You want to see him shoot better here. You want to see him get comfortable and consistent offensively as the leader of this team. But so far, at 5-1 this postseason, the formula is working.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? The way the Celtics have been playing, especially ever since Game 2 against the Miami Heat in that first round matchup. So I think when you look at the way the Celtics go into this series, you have a 25-point win against the Cavs in a game where you essentially were in front the entire game. I think if you're Jayson Tatum, you'll take that. You know, guys stepping up, Derek White. This is starting to get ridiculous.
7 for 10 to start this game from 3.
Insane, and for that to carry over from the last 3 games of the first round matchup against the Miami Heat. I mean, he's on a tear, so you want to obviously keep that going. I didn't think it's going to slow down anytime soon against this Cavs team. I don't know about you two, but the resistance is just not going to be there for Derek when you have Tatum and you have Jaylen Brown, the way he got off to a quick start in this game and it carried over throughout. I mean, you could argue that this is probably one of Jaylen's best post-game or post-season performances, So I just think when you have so many other great things across the board, it's hard to pinpoint Tatum shooting and say, man, this is something I'm really worried about just because of who he is historically, who he is throughout his entire career, especially in the postseason. I'm not there. I'm just not worried. He's proven himself so many times in the postseason with signature performances, especially when his team has his back against the wall. And I just don't think, obviously, the Celtics are in that position. And I don't think it's something to be worried about when you look at the way this team has responded and the way they've been consistent throughout the whole entire postseason. I mean, 5-1, 1-0 lead against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
Here's Joe Mazzulla. You thought Tatum played well tonight despite the bad shooting.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna it's funny, the usual self. I thought he played a overall well-rounded game. Passing, his screening allowed for those other guys to get open looks because of his screening in the half court, and he had some good shots at the rim defensively. So, like you said, success will look different for every night for each player. But at the end of the day, you can't be defined by one thing, and we got to compete at both ends of the floor. I thought our guys did that, for most of the night.
So, what do you think? Did Tatum play well tonight?
I think, he didn't have his best game. There's no way to make a 7 for 19 game be his best game. That being said, I think we're a little bit fixated right now on him being a superstar and him rivaling guys like Luka and SGA that are putting up these big numbers, Anthony Edwards. And I think we're a little bit losing sight of the fact that he will step up, like Josue said, if he has to in those performances. But there was no reason to force the issue tonight. And to be honest with you, 7 for 19, yeah, it's not an efficient stat line, but I think there was one possession where he missed 3 shots, right? So that doesn't happen. He's 7 for 14 or 7 for 16. Sorry.
There you go.
It's late. It's late.
No, I mean, we're journalists. We're not good at math.
Never was a math person. But regardless, so I think for me, it's just there's a little bit of a hyperfixation on his stat lines. And we've seen this throughout the year and I think throughout his career because we want to see him be a superstar. Right. If we're debating like his MVP candidacy, sure. Yeah. Tonight was not a good performance for that, but he was able to play within a Celtics system that played really well. And Derek White has been the best player on the team for a lot of this playoff run. Jaylen Brown tonight was one of the best players on the court. Peyton Pritchard, I got to give him a shout out, 16 points off the bench. Yeah. Like we're getting a little bored because they've blown out the opponents 5 of 6 playoff games right now. Right. Yeah. So we have to find things to talk about, but I think ultimately he played an all around solid game defensively. And so I'm not concerned about it. I think, if we start to see something change offensively, like where the offense is sputtering and they need him to step up and he's unable to, then that's a different story. But I don't think we're there at this point.
Yeah, and there's legitimately some Tatum rules going into effect. They are not allowing him to possess the ball, shoot comfortably.
Miami was doing the same thing, right?
You're just seeing loads of bodies in front of him. So I understand that. And I felt that coming in. official daily fantasy sports partner, Prize Picks, had him at 27.5 again. That's where he's been the whole playoffs. And I'm like, less, because these teams aren't going to allow him to have these kind of games. And Mitchell certainly went over, so we got it tonight. But
you don't like that. You don't like the what was it? You don't like the July 19th shooting right there.
No,
you don't like that. I mean, that's the way people are going to look at it. If you're going to pinpoint things that went wrong for the Celtics, but I mean, these guys had 5 players in double figures going into the fourth quarter. I mean,
right.
When it gets to the point of he's like really ice cold from the floor, I mean, we're going to talk about it. It's something worth mentioning, but I just don't think it's something that you have to think about later on saying, man, this might cost you guys a game here if this continues.
It hasn't been a problem yet because he's doing all the other stuff.
Right.
What you wonder is 6, 7, 8 games into the playoffs, if he's still shooting 40% from the field, if he still can't find his 3-point shot, do you get diminished defense? Do you get drawbacks in different areas of his game? And the key for them this year, and I think Joe talked about it after the game, is that nothing's more important than winning. So I don't think anyone will have a problem if Tatum shoots 40 from the field and they win the championship for this whole playoff run. But I just think it's going to wear on him a little bit at a certain point, like especially with all the noise. Like he's going to hear it at some point that he's not playing well, that he's got to score more, that he's got to do these different things. And can he persevere through that? Because the teams just aren't going to let him do it. Or can he find a way to break through what they've shown him defensively?
Yeah, I lost my initial point because of the math error last time. But what I was going to say is that I think we underestimate the gravity of like that he has on the court. And I was watching it.
It's immense.
Yeah, you have 3 players, focused on him. And then, you have Derek White wide open, Drew Holiday from the corner. Right. Al Horford, has gotten the most open shots in the history of basketball playing on the Celtics team, right? And so to me, it's like teams pick their poison. And for some reason, there's a consensus among the league that you're better off taking him out of his game than taking out the role players. And I don't know that I'd agree with that because it hasn't been working very well.
I'm surprised that's the way the Cavs went
And
tonight.
so, we watched Jaylen Brown cook everybody tonight, but he gets single coverage a lot of the night. All season, he's had, playing the Nuggets. He had that huge game in Denver. I forget, he had Christian Brown guarding him at points. He had guys, single coverage, driving to the rim, and he's going to go off in those moments. So I think a lot of it just comes down to the way the teams perceive the Celtics, and they want to triple team him or double team him. And, he'll have ugly stat lines, but the Celtics keep blowing things out. I don't think it really matters.
Tonight specifically, I do think you saw that kind of defensive pressure. You saw some bad shot attempts too. I really didn't like the step back over Tristan, and there were some other moments too where
he corrected it after, but I get you.
But overall,
he took it to the hoop afterwards.
It is a similar story to the Heat. Probably some bad attempts, probably some areas where he could get downhill a little bit more. But, he got to the free throw line a ton in that first series. We're seeing him on the boards. We're seeing the defense and all that. So we'll take it for now. It's just about where it's going to go from here. And at some point, I think they as a team need to try to get him going and need to just get him some good looks and, screening, rolling, getting those downhill attempts. There's no Porzingis. You can probably get him some post-ups. You got to, it's tough to struggle out there. You can do all the other things.
Bobby said this Cavs team is trash. Why are you struggling out there?
No, I'm just saying it's tough for you as a player to be out there shooting poorly, having all that pressure on you. I think it's just going to be tough to do night in and night out. So it's on the Celtics, I think, to some degree, to get him some good looks and get him going.
I think it has to happen organically, though. I really do, especially with this team. I mean, that's just the way Joe Mazzulla is. The way the team's always been, it's philosophy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, getting the best shot, moving the ball around. I just think when you have so many weapons like the Celtics do in that starting 5, especially, that you can essentially, set guys up and people know just how to make the right plays off of muscle memory. I just think that's the part that comforts Tatum most, right? So that when the moments for him to take over, or when he just feels it, it's going to happen within the game, and it won't be manufactured, it won't be forced. So I think that's a big part of it. But you wonder how the Cleveland Cavaliers, yes, I was going to say how Tatum would adjust, but also how Cleveland would adjust. But I just think Tatum is the type of player that he's been around long enough that he knows when it's time to turn that switch on. You know what I mean? I don't think he's necessarily worried about it, or I don't think it's something that's going to be hinder his play or his performance. I think he's so beyond that, whereas a couple of year ago, that would be something that's in the back of his mind. Like, man, I got to get going. Yeah, we won, but hey, this is the playoffs. I think he's past that stage.
It definitely seems like it, especially being able to perform like that.
And I don't want to say he's like bored out there, but I just think when he's provided, when there's other challenges, other hurdles, he'll be ready for that. I really do think that'll be the case.
As we mentioned, less 27.5 hit for Tatum tonight, and You also had Mitchell going more than his 27 and a half.
That's going to happen a lot this
Is
year.
averaging over 30 a game against the Celtics this year. So fun to track those performances, those projections going to each game. Check out prizepicks.com/CLNS and get up to 100% matching bonus on your first deposit when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. And of course, check out our great golf wear partner, PXG. You know, they got the clubs and all the golf gear, but they have the great leisure wear as well as polos and hats and everything else you need for the golf course.
Yep.
It's hot out.
Great
Last
swag.
2 days were perfect golf days. We're here at the Garden, so we can't get there yet. But once the season ends, we'll be out there in our PXG. And it's great. You get a nice loose feel with it. And if you go to pxg.com/garden report, you're going to get a 10% discount on your first purchase over there. No, it wasn't competitive tonight, but what are you expecting going into game 2? More of the same for Tatum and the Celtics and the Cavs here, or could this have a different look to it?
Yeah, I don't think we should expect that the rest of the series is going to be blowouts. But I predicted this to be a pretty easy round for the Celtics, and I think they took care of business tonight. I also think they have the memory of round 1, coming out, blowing the Heat in game 1, and then losing in game 2, and they're probably thinking about that, not wanting to repeat those mistakes. So I think they'll have a similar performance on Thursday. I don't know that there's that much Cleveland can do. Guys like Derek White might not have as good of games as they did tonight, but I think overall this seems like a very sustainable effort for Boston.
Especially Jared Allen doesn't seem like he's any closer coming back, at least according to some of JB Bickerstaff's post-game comments. You can find all those more CLNS Media, continued coverage. There'll be practices tomorrow, more reaction to this game coming your way on Celtics All Access, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe to both of those channels. And check out our other great sponsor. Just 2 days from now, Game 2 will take place here, and right up until games on tickets here at the Garden for concerts, whatever you need. So go to gametime.com and use the code CLNS for a $20 discount on your first purchase. Again, that's for your first purchase over on the app. So download it, make an account, and use that code CLNS. Of course, terms apply. So check out the Game Time app. He's Josue Pavon. She's Noah Dalzell. Check them out on CLNS Media and Celtics All Access throughout the playoffs. And I'm Bobby Manning. Celtics beat the Cavs 120-95 and go ahead 1-0 to start this second round series. We will see you tomorrow.